boxing. You guys should check out Calderon Boxing on YouTube. It's awesome.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment, and we're about to get into this week's boxing talk. We're going to do a recap on some of the fights that took place over the past weekend. But first, we're going to talk about the upcoming fight this Saturday, May 12th at Madison Square Garden, New York City, for the lineal lightweight championship of the world. WBA champion Jorge Linares taking on two-division world champion Vasyl Lomachenko, one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. This is a big fight, a great fight matchup, and I can't wait for this fight right here. I'm a fan of both of these fighters. Both guys are superior boxers, and it's a huge fight because Vasyl Lomachenko is regarded as one of the best fighters pound for pound in the world. Some people have him as #1, but he's moving up in weight to 135 pounds. This is his third weight division. He's only had about 10 pro fights in his career, and this is a matchup against perhaps the best opponent of his career. Jorge Linares is a 3-division world champion. He is the lineal lightweight champion of the 135-pound division. Very fast hand speed, this man. Great boxing skills. He has the experience, he has good punching power, and he's going to be a threat for a guy like Vasyl Lomachenko. Some people might have him as the favorite because he's been so sensational with his performances against other opponents. He's been dominating them, and he's made the last 4 opponents quit. And a lot of people are making a big deal about that. I think Lomachenko is a superior fighter. This guy has been one of the greatest amateurs in the history of boxing. He's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, and he's already dominated 2 weight divisions. And he's fought some good fighters already in guys like Gary Russell Jr., Nicholas Walters, and also in his last performance against Guillermo Rigondeaux. Now, Rigondeaux was an older fighter, a smaller fighter that I thought that would be more competitive in that fight, but it was a dominant performance by Lomachenko where he clearly was in control over the smaller fighter that moved up in 2 weight divisions just to take on the challenge for a big super fight. Now Lomachenko is moving up himself to the 135-pound weight division, and he's taking on a guy that's bigger than him in size, a guy that has great hand speed that can match him in there. It's going to be a very good fight, and I can't wait for this fight. It's going to take place on ESPN. It's going to be a very big crowd on hand at Madison Square Garden, and now we're going to see how good Vasyl Lomachenko really is, because he's looking to become a 3-division world champion in just 11 professional fights, and that's amazing. You know, that's something to really talk about, how good this guy is. I know Bob Arum is his promoter, and he's hyping him up that he hasn't seen a fighter like this since Muhammad Ali, but I think that's getting a little bit carried away to really make that claim in this early stage of Lomachenko's career. But this is a big test for him, you know. This is a great weight division to really prove himself worthy of that title mantle of pound for pound best fighter in the world. And it starts with a guy like Jorge Linares. Linares is not going to be an easy fight for him. This man is not going to be one of those guys that's going to quit in his corner, because Linares is a true warrior from Venezuela that loves to fight. This man has been cut, been down on the cameras before, and he's been stopped in his career twice. Linares is a superior boxer as well. This guy has a great jab. He puts his punches together very well. I love to see a guy like Linares perform in that ring, because he has really mastered his craft through the later stages of his career, and he's still in his prime right now at this moment. He's had a very active schedule in his career. You know, with the last couple of fights, he's put on some great performances, and you gotta love the hand speed and the size advantage that Linares is gonna bring into this fight right here against the smaller man in Lomachenko. This fight is more of an evenly matched fight, 50-50, it could go either way. We're going to see who's going to implement their game plan much better. Can Lomachenko get on the inside and really dazzle with his defense? His footwork is going to be key factor in this fight because he has beautiful footwork. He's going to have to make Linares miss and make him pay, but he doesn't have that punching power to really hurt Linares. I know Linares has had a suspect chin throughout his career, but he's gotten a lot better, especially with his new trainer, Ishmael Salas. That's a great trainer that he's had. They have a great working relationship, but unfortunately, Ishmael Salas will not be in his corner for this fight because he was training David Haye over in the UK for his fight that just passed, and he wasn't in the training camp for Linares. So how much would that affect him not having that man in his corner or in his training camp preparing for the biggest fight of his career? We're going to have to wait and see how this plays out, because I believe that Linares has the skills, has the hand speed and the size factor with good punching power to really give problems to a guy like Lomachenko. But Lomachenko is labeled as a very special fighter, a tremendous talent that we haven't seen in quite some time and perhaps never. But I believe that this fight will definitely go the 12 rounds, and it's going to be up to these judges to hopefully make a very good decision, and I'm going to be leaning towards Jorge Linares pulling out the victory and upsetting Vasyl Lomachenko in this fight right here. Now, also later on that night, HBO is going to be having their own telecast when WBO junior middleweight champion Saddam Ali defends his title for the very first time against hot, undefeated 21-year-old Mexican prospect Jaime Munguia. Now, this was a last-minute replacement for Saddam Ali because he was supposed to make his mandatory defense against Liam Beefy Smith, but Liam Smith came down with an illness and he pulled out of the fight. So Golden Boy was able to pull this young Mexican fighter to take his first big step in a world title opportunity. He was being considered to face Gennady Golovkin over the past weekend, and that fight didn't happen because the Nevada State Commission felt that this kid wasn't ready for such a big stage. But now he has an opportunity to fight for another world title in his own weight class of 154 pounds, and it's a big step up. This is the best guy he's ever fought, and Saddam Ali proved a lot of people wrong in his last performance, including myself when he took on Miguel Cotto and he upset Cotto for the world title. Now he gets back into the ring to defend that title, and I see this fight as a pretty good fight. Saddam Ali is the favorite because he's the more experienced fighter. He was an outstanding amateur fighter that fought on the United States Olympics team. And now with his new trainer, he's been able to turn his career around since that knockout loss that he took against Jesse Vargas. So Saddam Ali should be able to come through in this fight against this good, talented top prospect. I haven't really watched a lot of footage of Munguia. Munguia is a very strong fighter, a big guy at 154 pounds, and he has tremendous knockout power in both hands. He looks a little bit slow in there, so I believe the hand speed is going to be in Ali's favor. Ali can box, and he can also punch. He has good punching power. We saw against Miguel Cotto that he was able to rock Cotto several times throughout that fight, and he was also able to control the tempo, and that's what I expect him to do in this fight. He might get rocked in this fight. He might even touch the canvas because this kid is such a big, huge puncher, but I believe that he has the boxing skills and the experience to weather the storm and take this kid to school and beat him perhaps by late round stoppage or by 12th round unanimous decision. So tune into ESPN and HBO for the big fights that are going to be happening this weekend. Now I want to do a recap over the fights that took place this past weekend. First, we're going to start off overseas in London, England for the big rematch showdown between David Haye and Tony Bellew. This is a fight where I believe David Haye was going to be much better in with his new trainer Ismael Salas, who wasn't in the training camp for Jorge Linares because he had started an early training camp overseas with David Haye. And I thought David Haye was going to look much more sharper in this fight, much quicker and more explosive, and it just wasn't there. David Haye looked like an old fighter in this fight because Tony Bellew came to fight just the way he did the first time around, but he had an even better performance, looking strong, looking dominant in this fight, hurting David Haye very early in the fight and dropping him to the canvas, and it looked like David Haye could not recover, and he was in bad shape. His legs were very wobbly, and it was just the end of the road as Tony Bellew put the finishing touches on David Haye and was stopped in the 5th round to possibly end the career of the Haymaker. And it's a very disappointing loss for me because I've been a David Haye fan since day one. I've watched him since his first pro fight come up and become one of the best cruiserweight champions that we've ever seen since Evander Holyfield, and then win the heavyweight title. And I know a lot of people have dogged David Haye because of his loss against Klitschko. David Haye has not helped his career with his outside antics, you know, the trash talking and not backing it up. And this fight right here just tells me that it's all over for the Haymaker. He should retire. He doesn't have it anymore with all the injuries and the long layoffs. You know, he's had a good career, 2-division world champion. He's made a lot of money. Now it's time to hang up those gloves. Now moving along over to the United States, on HBO we had the return of Gennady Golovkin taking on Vasyl Manarosian in a fight matchup where it went exactly as everyone expected it to be. You know, people are trash talking this fight, saying that it was a garbage fight. You know, this was a fight that was made in 2 weeks' notice. Vasyl Manarosian has not fought in 2 years since his loss against Aslandy Lara. But this guy has always been a contender, a guy that has been in there with the likes of Charlo, Demetrius Andre, and also Aslandy Lara twice. He's been the distance with all these guys. He's put up a good fight against these fighters, but he hasn't won a fight since beating Ishe Smith almost 3 years ago. And this guy was moving up in weight from the 154-pound division to the middleweight division to take on a huge challenge in just 2 weeks' notice. What did you really expect? You know, a lot of people would rather see Triple G sit out for over a year and wait for a guy like Canelo Alvarez or a big fight opportunity against Charlo or even Daniel Jacobs than to get into a fight like this to shake off the ring rust and stay active. This guy is an older fighter now. He's about 36 years old. He needs to stay active. He needs to be in training camp and perform under the lights in order to stay sharp. And he looked in tremendous shape. Looked like he was ready for Canelo Alvarez. But Alvarez failed 2 drug tests and he was suspended by the Nevada Commission. So Triple G wanted to fight and he went in there, handled his business. Martirosyan came in the first round in a very fast pace. He was letting his hands go. He was showing that he wasn't afraid and that he came to fight. He was landing some good shots. He even caught Triple G at the end of that first round with a solid punch that kind of shook Triple G and made him realize that this kid was not coming to lay down. But in the second round, Triple G came out all business and showed Martirosyan right away that he was a different type of fighter that he's ever been with in the ring. And he landed a perfect uppercut that hurt Martirosyan and had him thinking twice about taking this fight. Triple G started to set up his punches with a stiff jab, backing him up to the ropes and unleashing that big right hand and monster left hook that basically finished off Martirosyan with the perfect combination punching that dropped him slowly to the canvas face down, and he was not getting up. Triple G had a very easy night. He gets his 20th title defense, tying Bernard Hopkins as the only 2 men to defend their middleweight title for 20 consecutive fights. He is still the undefeated middleweight king of the division of 160 pounds, and everybody wants to know what is next for him. Max Kellerman was pressing him to call out names. Triple G has never been a guy to really call out names, but he said that he's willing to fight everyone in the division and clear out the division. That means guys like Daniel Jacobs, Jamar Charlo, Demetrius Andre, and also his mandatory Sergey Jachenko, who is in line for a title shot next. Now, is that fight really going to happen? Because Canelo Alvarez is the biggest money fight in boxing for Triple G. And his handlers are going to do everything possible to get in contact with the IBF and also Lou DiBella, who promotes Sergey, to try to work out a deal money-wise to have this man step aside so that a bigger fight for a bigger payday against Canelo Alvarez, the fight that most boxing fans want to see. People might want to see Triple G against Charlo or Jacobs again, but what they really want to see is Canelo Alvarez and Triple G, because that was such a great fight, and that fight winded up in a draw. People were on the fence. Some people thought that Canelo Alvarez should have won. A lot of people felt that Triple G won that fight. So they have unfinished business, and this is a major fight for boxing, and it's most likely going to happen on Mexican Independence Day in September of 2018. So Triple G, at his age, is not wasting any time. He's going for the big prize. He's going for the major super fight against Canelo Alvarez because he wants to prove that he is the better fighter. And I believe that he has a great shot to beat Canelo Alvarez. But Alvarez is an excellent fighter as well, and he put on a very good performance in that first fight. Was he on steroids? That's going to be the dark cloud over his head for the rest of his career, and he's going to have extensive drug testing to prove that he is a clean fighter and that both of these guys are going to be on an even playing field once they meet again, and who's going to be the better fighter in this fight this time around, because both guys are going to be more prepared for each other for this fight. And I can't wait for that fight to happen because yours truly will be in Las Vegas. Triple G has 3 mandatories for all of the title belts that he owns, and Sergey Durachenko is the next in line of that rotation for his title shot. The other 2 are Jamar Charlo and also Daniel Jacobs. Now, those 2 guys right there, I believe, should fight each other because they're not going to get their title shot until sometime next year. So why not make the second biggest fight in the middleweight division to really elevate their status and make the demand for a Triple G fight in the near future sooner than later? Then you also have perhaps one of the top 3 best middleweights in the world, undefeated WBO middleweight champion Billy Joe Sanders, that's out there, and he wants a fight with Canelo Alvarez. He has a fight coming up in June against Martin Murray, and then we're going to see if they can negotiate a deal. If Triple G decides not to fight Canelo Alvarez, he can fight Billy Joe Saunders in England, where he can make a lot of money and also make history to become the undisputed middleweight king of the division, getting that last title, the WBO title that he's been chasing for quite some time. And that fight right there, which is a unification match, will override any mandatory that Triple G has against any of these fighters right here. So there's going to be a lot of decision making, a lot of pieces that are going to be moving around to try to make this Canelo Alvarez fight to avoid the mandatories, and maybe, possibly, unification match with Billy Joe Saunders could be the bargaining chip for Triple G, because they don't have to take the Canelo Alvarez fight. There's a lot of upside facing Saunders, but of course the biggest money lies with Canelo Alvarez. So we're going to have to wait and see how this plays out. But that's my final fight analysis and recap breakdown of the fights that took place this past weekend and the upcoming fights that are going to be happening this Saturday. And I can't wait. I want to thank everyone that tunes into this YouTube channel right here, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. Please hit that little red subscribe button. Put your email information in so you get all my notifications once I drop a new video. Also, hit that like button, hit that share button, make comments, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and also join the Facebook boxing group page, all under the same name, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. I'm J. Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment. Thanks for your support. Keep watching, and please subscribe.